Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress with a video on the other Kasparov-Carlsen game. What is this about? Well, most of you I'm sure have seen the pictures of 13-year-old Magnus Carlsen making a draw in a rapid game against Garry Kasparov in 2004 in a tournament in Reykjavik in Iceland. This is a screenshot of the video footage. Magnus Carlsen is 13 years old, but he looks about 10, and Kasparov pulled his usual faces when he could not achieve anything as black against his young opponent. There are many videos on the internet with this footage, and it also features in the movie about Magnus Carlsen, which includes him and his family eating ice cream after the game, and the whole family is happy that Carlsen achieved a draw against Kasparov. But it was not the only game Carlsen had to play against Kasparov on that day. It was a knockout tournament, so it meant the players had to play one game with white and one game with black against each other. If the score would be 1-1, then it would be a tiebreak. This video is about this second game where Kasparov had the white pieces and Carlsen had the black pieces. It is the 18th of March 2004. The Reykjavik Rapid took place from the 17th to the 21st of March. Time control 25 minutes plus a 5-second increment. And if the score was 1-1, then the Blitz playoff would be with 5 minutes and a 3-second increment per move. As mentioned, the first game had ended in a draw, and Kasparov is white in the second game. He opened with c4, the English opening, and we'll see that it will transpose into a King's Indian. Knight f6. Carlsen was an international master at the time this game was played, having scored 2 Grandmaster norms, and he would earn the Grandmaster title the following month in the Dubai Open in the United Arab Emirates. Kasparov played knight c3, g6, e4, d6, d4, bishop g7, knight f3, and Carlsen castled. We're now in a King's Indian. Bishop e2, e5, and here there are several moves. Castling or d5 straight away, or bishop e3, the move that Kasparov played. You can attack that bishop straight away with knight g4, then the main line is bishop g5, hitting the queen, f6, and then the bishop goes to h4, or sometimes back to d2 or c1. But after bishop e3, Carlsen decided not to harass that bishop. He took in the center. Knight takes, and here rook e8 is a very popular move, but Carlsen played c6. f3, to give the bishop a square on f2, Kasparov is anticipating rook e8 and d5, these moves by black, and wants to make sure his e-pawn will not be pinned because of the unprotected position of the bishop on e3. Rook e8 came indeed, bishop dropped back, and now d5. And now the pawn on e4 is not pinned. So Kasparov took on d5 with the e-pawn, c takes, and here castling is an option, and then knight c6. We're still in theory, this position has been played many times before, but instead of castling, Kasparov played c5, also a known move. Knight c6, and now castling, and knight h5. That knight wants to go to f4, that would be a very nice square for the knight. So queen d2, keeping the knight out of f4, and bishop e5, renewing the threat of knight f4, which would give black a very good position. That knight on f4 would be a real thorn in white's side. Kasparov does not want to allow that, and he plays g3. We're still in theory. Knight g7 is the main move here, and then rook f to d1. But Carlsen played it differently. He played bishop h3. I found this game being analyzed in a Czech chess book, and this move was described as riskantny pokračování. And I don't speak Czech, and I pronounce that probably very, very badly, but it's not too difficult to understand that what is meant there is that this move is a risky provocation from Carlsen. Rook fe1, knight back to g7 was played now, and rook a to d1, and that was a new move in 2004. Bishop b5 was played in the only known Grandmaster game up to that time. It was played in Taimanov against Stein in Tallinn in Estonia in 1965. Kasparov plays a new move, rook a to d1, very logical move, bringing the rook to the center. One variation in the book that I quoted is knight e6, and then knight takes e6, bishop takes e6, f4 and bishop g7, and white is somewhat better, but this was black's best option. In the game he played rook c8, Magnus Carlsen did, and that is a bad move. Kasparov finds the strongest continuation, knight d2, b5, and now the pawn on d5 is hanging. Attacked 3 times. If you play d4, then there is knight e4, and that is very good with the knight jumping into d6. Carlsen kicked the knight. Knight d6, forking both rooks, so you have to take. Bishop takes, c takes, and if you take on d6, then there is knight takes d5 with a large advantage for white. His pieces are much better coordinated than black's, and white also has the bishop pair in an open position. Carlsen decided against taking on d6 and he played d4. Knight e4, this knight is eyeing up the f6 square. That would be a nice fork. That's a very important tactical motif in this position. Kasparov is now starting tactical fireworks. Bishop f5, and here bishop takes d4. Immediately was a good option, but Kasparov played d7 first. Forking both rooks, so you have to take it. And now bishop takes d4, which is now threatening that knight f6 jump, because the bishop is also covering the f6 square, winning material. So knight takes d4 was played, queen takes, still threatening knight f6, and knight f5, giving up a piece, hoping for counter chances against white's king. Carlsen saw he could not prevent knight f6, and goes for a desperate piece sacrifice. Kasparov said, "Thank you very much, I'll take the piece," and queen b6 check. King stepped aside, and rook e d8. Black is attacking with its 4 remaining pieces, hoping for a miracle. The queen only has 1 square on a4, but it's good enough. White is just a piece up. Carlsen took on d1, queen takes, and took on b2. Queen b1, rook c2, the queens were swapped, and bishop c4 protecting the a-pawn. Carlsen's last trick was knight d4, and here black still has a threat. It's very obvious, let's just show the threat. Let's make a very silly move for white, a4. Then the idea is knight takes f3 with a checkmate threat on h2. But that was not going to work. After knight d4, Kasparov played rook e3, protecting the f-pawn, and there is really nothing to play for anymore. There's no more counterplay, no tricks against white's king, and Magnus Carlsen resigned the game here after 32 moves, and Garry Kasparov had won this match in the first round and went on to win the tournament. He beat Jan Timman, Peter Heine Nielsen and Nigel Short in the final. Carlsen made a great draw against Kasparov in the first game, but the second game showed that he still had some way to go to enter the world elite. As mentioned, he would become a grandmaster 1 month later. At that time he was the 2nd youngest grandmaster in the world, behind Sergei Karyakin, and the rest is history. Kasparov and Carlsen played 1 more game against each other in this event. In fact, it was the day before this game was played. The tournament started with a blitz tournament and Kasparov beat Carlsen in 21 moves. I may show that game in a future video. But who cares about Garry Kasparov? Who cares about Magnus Carlsen? This one is much more important. This is the position in the game Rick against a chess to impress viewers. I've just played rook a1 to a2 on the 18th move. My idea is to swing over the other rook to a1 to put a lot of pressure on your a6 pawn. And it is your move now. How can you take part in this game? Well, you just put in the comment section underneath this video the 18th move you want to play here for black. What would you play in this position for black? By submitting a move, you will not only be part of this great game, but also you will be in the raffle. At the end of this game, I will raffle a chess book amongst the viewers who've taken part in this game. So please let me know your move, and I hope you will take part in our game. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel and please leave a comment. I will read them all and I will reply to them all. If you like this video, it would be great if you could share it on social media by clicking the share button on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram, on Twitter and on Facebook. This is Rick for Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.